When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was a white ceiling and a bright fluorescent light buzzing above me. My mouth was dry, my head was pounding, and I had no idea where I was. A nurse leaned over and smiled like she knew me. She said, "Good morning, Jessica. You were in a car accident, but you're going to be okay." I blinked at her. I couldn't remember my name. I didn't know why I was in that bed or what day it was. I asked, "Is someone here for me?" And she said my husband was on his way. Michael walked in 15 minutes later, his face pale but composed. He took my hand gently and smiled in that quiet way he always does, like he didn't want to upset me. "You're safe," he said. "You had a concussion. You were unconscious for a couple of days, but the doctors said it's temporary. Your memory will come back." He didn't cry. He didn't ask how I felt. He just told me I was safe and everything was fine. That night, I lay awake in the hospital bed, trying to remember my daughter's name. I knew I had a daughter. I remembered coloring books and stuffed animals. I remembered little pink shoes on the hallway floor. But her face wouldn't come into focus. I kept repeating it in my head. "You have a daughter. Her name is Lily." When they discharged me, Michael drove me home. He talked the whole way, filling the silence with stories about Lily, about how she missed me, about how I'd be back to normal soon. I nodded, but something felt wrong. The words made sense, but my heart didn't match them. My memory was a patchwork quilt with missing pieces. I tried to hold on to the ones I had. Lily ran to me when I walked through the front door. She wrapped her arms around my legs and said, "Mommy, you're back." I knelt down and hugged her as tightly as I could. She smelled like cinnamon and crayons. Her voice was the first thing that felt real. Michael stood back, watching us, smiling like he was proud of how well everything was going. He said he'd ordered pizza for dinner and that I should lie down if I felt dizzy. Lily stayed close to me all evening, chattering and drawing pictures on the coffee table while I lay on the couch, trying to remember how to feel normal in my own home. It was later that night, when Michael had gone to take a phone call in the bedroom, that Lily looked up from her drawing and asked a question I wasn't prepared for. "Mom, where's the other baby?" I froze. I smiled and said, "What baby, sweetheart?" She gave me that look kids give when they think adults are joking. She said, "The baby you brought home last week, you told me I could help feed him, remember? I practiced holding him with a blanket." I stared at her. My chest went cold. I said, "Lily, there's no other baby." She tilted her head. "Yes, there is. He was here. His name started with a B, like Ben or Billy, and you said I'd be the best big sister in the world." I didn't know what to say. My mind raced, trying to grab onto something solid. I laughed nervously and said, "I think you had a dream, sweetie." But her face changed. She wasn't joking. She looked frustrated, like she knew I was lying. "It wasn't a dream. He cried a lot, and you said he was still getting used to us. He was here." Michael walked back into the room. I looked at him and said, "Lily thinks we had another baby." He paused, just for a second. Then he smiled and said, "She's been saying that since your accident." It's probably something she saw on TV. Her imagination is wild. He reached for her drawing and complimented the rainbow she had scribbled across the page, then changed the subject to what kind of dessert she wanted. But my heart wouldn't settle. That night, after I tucked Lily in, I sat alone in the living room staring at the bookshelf. I didn't remember buying a second crib, but there was a receipt in my purse for one. I didn't remember any baby clothes, but I saw a pacifier in the drawer of the hallway table, and I couldn't stop hearing Lily's voice, quiet but certain. "Where's the other baby?" Before the accident, my life was quiet, simple, and full of routines. I liked it that way. I'm a freelance illustrator, mostly children's books, and I worked from home. Our house was nothing fancy, but it was ours. A white 2-story with red shutters and a porch swing I never used enough. We lived just outside Charlotte, in a neighborhood with sidewalks and backyard grills and kids riding scooters past the windows. Michael and I had been married for 7 years. We met in college. He was the calm one in the computer lab, and I was the girl sketching in the back of economics class. He made sense, steady, logical, kind in that quiet way that doesn't show off. He never raised his voice. He handled bills, scheduled car maintenance, remembered birthdays. He was the kind of man who made lists for fun and got excited about antivirus software updates. That was part of why I loved him. I could be the emotional one, the messy one, the dreamer. Our daughter Lily was born 6 years into the marriage. She changed everything. She was bright, curious, constantly talking, constantly asking questions. She liked glitter, frogs, and story time. She had Michael's calm eyes but my expressive eyebrows. Every morning, she woke me up by climbing into bed and whispering stories into my ear. Wild, sprawling adventures about unicorns who saved lost puppies or fairies who lived in the dishwasher. I called her my storm in a teacup. She gave our house color. We weren't perfect, but we were happy. Or at least I thought we were. A few weeks before the accident, Lily had started asking questions about babies. She'd see them in the grocery store and tug my hand. "Can I have a baby brother or sister for Christmas?" she asked, completely serious. I told her babies don't come from Santa, and she said, "Then can you grow one instead?" It became a joke between us. I'd pretend to check my stomach and say, "Nope, still no baby," and she'd pretend to sigh in disappointment. But secretly, I was thinking about it. Michael and I had talked about a second child. He wasn't sure. He said Lily was enough, and I agreed out loud. But part of me wondered what it would be like to hear another little voice in the house. The last clear memory I have from before the accident was a Saturday morning. It was raining, and Lily had built a blanket fort in the living room. I crawled inside with her and brought my sketch pad. She wanted me to draw a fairy with butterfly wings who carried a backpack full of cookies. I remember the smell of her shampoo. I remember how Michael brought us pancakes and coffee and sat nearby on the couch, working on his laptop. We were all in the same room, the way families should be. Then the accident happened. I was driving home from the grocery store. It was late afternoon, and I had picked up groceries for the week: milk, bread, strawberries, juice boxes. There was a thunderstorm coming in, and the roads were slick. I remember a sharp turn and headlights coming too fast. I remember a deer in the road. Then everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital with a doctor telling me I'd been lucky. My car had spun out into a ditch. A mild concussion, some bruised ribs, but no permanent damage, except for the memory loss. 3 days gone, just erased. Everyone said it would come back, that my brain was protecting me. But even when I got home, those days stayed blank. What I couldn't shake was how calm Michael was. He didn't ask questions. He didn't show fear. When I cried at night because I couldn't remember what day it was or whether Lily liked peanut butter or almond butter, he just rubbed my back and said it would pass. At first, I thought he was being strong for me. That was his way. But then it started to feel like he didn't want me to remember. He didn't like it when I asked questions. When I brought up things that felt off, the receipt for formula in my purse, the pacifier in the hallway drawer, he told me not to worry, that it was nothing, that I was just confused. But the house wasn't quite the same. My studio was cleaner than I'd left it, like someone had gone through it. Lily's toys had been moved. The laundry basket had baby socks in it that didn't belong to her. When I asked Michael, he just smiled and said, "You're looking for answers that don't exist." Even Lily seemed confused. She was quieter around Michael. She clung to me more, and she kept asking the same question. "Where's the other baby?" I kept telling myself I was just healing, that my brain needed time. But deep down, something didn't feel right. Something had shifted while I was unconscious, something no one wanted to talk about. I could feel it in the way Michael looked at me, in the way Lily waited for an answer I didn't have. Whatever had happened in those 3 missing days, I was starting to believe that forgetting might have been the most dangerous part of all. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. I couldn't sleep. Lily's question kept repeating in my head like a haunting echo. "Where's the other baby?" I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold in my hands. Michael came downstairs in his usual quiet way, already dressed for work. He smiled like everything was fine and kissed my forehead. "You feeling better today?" he asked. "I think so," I lied. "Just tired." He nodded and poured himself a cup of coffee. I watched him stir the sugar, same as always. He never looked nervous, never acted like anything was wrong. But there was something in the way he avoided eye contact when he asked if I needed anything. He didn't ask about Lily's question. He never mentioned the baby. It was like he'd already decided the subject was closed. After he left, I began going through the house, not even sure what I was looking for. I opened closets, checked under beds, pulled out boxes from the hallway cabinets. Everything looked familiar, but off, like a photo that had been tampered with. I found a folded onesie in the back of Lily's dresser. It was tiny, soft, and had little rocket ships on it. I had never bought anything like that for Lily. I sat down on the floor, holding it in my lap, feeling the weight of a memory that wouldn't come. Later that day, Lily sat on the couch, flipping through a picture book. I sat beside her, watching her eyes scan the pages, but she wasn't really looking at them. "Lily," I said gently, "tell me again about the other baby." She looked at me carefully. "You don't remember him?" "No, I don't. Can you help me?" She nodded slowly. "He cried a lot, but you said that was normal. You let me help with the bottle. He had dark hair and little hands like this." She curled her fingers up to show me. "You said his name started with a B. Do you remember the name?" She thought for a moment. "Maybe Ben or Blake. I don't know." I tried to stay calm. "Where did you see him?" "Here," she said, "in your room, and in the chair where you feed him. You said I had to be gentle, and you let me hold him for a second." Michael's voice cut in from behind us. "Hey, what are you two talking about?" Lily looked up. "The baby." Michael smiled, but it was strained. "Sweetheart, remember what we said? Mommy's still getting better. Sometimes dreams feel real when we're little. That's probably what it was. Just a dream." Lily didn't respond. She just looked back at her book, lips pressed together. Michael turned to me. "You're feeding this idea. It's not helping her. Or you." I stared at him. "Where did the onesie come from?" "What onesie?" "The one in Lily's dresser. The rocket ship one." He shrugged. "You probably bought it years ago. People give us baby stuff all the time. Maybe it was a hand-me-down." I didn't believe him, and I could tell he knew I didn't. He kissed my cheek and told me he'd be home late. After he left, I called my sister. Emily answered on the second ring. "Hey, you okay?" "I need to ask you something weird," I said. "Do you remember me having a baby?" There was a pause. "What do you mean?" "Before the accident. Do you remember seeing me with a newborn?" Another silence. "Em?" She sighed. "Yeah, I didn't know if I should say anything. You brought a baby to Mom's house. You said his name was Ben. You looked tired but happy. That was a few days before the accident." I felt like the floor shifted under me. "Emily, I don't remember that at all. Michael says there's no baby. He says Lily made it up." "She didn't. I saw him. He was real." I hung up and sat in my room for over an hour without moving. My arms felt heavy. My thoughts raced in circles. If I had a baby, where was he now? Why would Michael lie about it? Why wouldn't anyone else say something? I called my doctor, hoping for some kind of explanation. Dr. Whitaker was kind but cautious. "Jessica, memory loss can distort reality. Sometimes people insert false memories. You have to be careful before drawing conclusions." I found formula receipts, a crib in the attic. Emily says she saw the baby. My daughter remembers holding him. Has Michael confirmed any of this? "No," I said. "He denies it all." Dr. Whitaker paused. "Then maybe it's time you get a second opinion or start writing things down, anything you remember, even fragments." That night, I searched the house again. I opened every drawer, every box. I found a half-filled baby bottle in a bag in the garage, hidden beneath some old painting supplies. It was moldy and had a faint smell I couldn't place. I sat on the cold concrete floor holding it in my hands. Whatever had happened in those 3 days, it wasn't gone. It was buried. And I was done pretending it didn't matter. By the next morning, I knew I couldn't trust Michael. It wasn't just the lies, the deflections, or the strange calmness. It was the pattern. Every time I got closer to the truth, he redirected. Every question was met with logic. Every discovery was dismissed. I couldn't live in the fog anymore. I needed facts. I needed proof. So I made a choice. I called Emily. "I need you to help me with something," I said. "I'm getting a DNA test." Emily didn't hesitate. "What do you need from me?" "I need to test myself, Lily and Michael." There was a brief pause before she said, "You're thinking he's not Lily's dad?" "I don't know what I'm thinking," I admitted, "but I need something solid. I don't even know if I can trust my own memories, but blood doesn't lie." That afternoon, I picked Lily up from school and took her to Emily's place. I told her it was just a fun visit with Aunt Em while I took care of some errands. Then I drove to a private DNA testing lab across town. I walked in with a plastic bag containing a few strands of Michael's hair I had pulled from his brush that morning. I had already swabbed my cheek and Lily's. I handed everything over without saying a word. The technician glanced at the items, nodded, and said the results would take a few days. I signed the form and walked out with my hands shaking. It felt like I had just opened a door I couldn't close again. That night, Michael noticed something was off. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was tired. He watched me closely, probably sensing the change in me. But I didn't offer anything, and he didn't press. He never did. That was the most dangerous thing about him, his silence. It gave him control. It made you question whether the problem was even real. Over the next few days, I started writing everything down. Every moment I remembered from the past few weeks, every item I found, every strange comment from Lily. I created a timeline, tried to fill in the blanks. I cross-checked it against receipts, notes on my phone, text messages. Most of my phone data was gone, cleared. I asked Michael about it, and he said I must have reset it during the accident. I didn't remember doing that. I didn't remember much at all. I started having flashes, short, blurry memories that came and went like wind through a broken window. A baby crying in a quiet room, my hands shaking as I held a bottle. Michael's voice telling me everything would be okay, the sound of my own voice screaming. Then nothing. One night, Emily came over to help me clean out the attic. We pulled down boxes, looked for anything that could explain what I had forgotten. Near the back, hidden behind stacks of old holiday decorations, we found it. A bassinet. Clean, unused, folded neatly in a bag. Alongside it was a pack of unopened diapers and a receipt dated 2 weeks before the accident. Emily handed me the receipt with wide eyes. This wasn't for Lily. I know. We sat on the attic floor for a long time. I held one of the tiny diapers in my hands and stared at it like it might talk. He was real, I said. I know he was. Then where is he? Emily asked. That was the question I couldn't answer. 2 days later, the DNA results came in. I opened the email alone in the bedroom, my heart pounding so loud I could barely think. I clicked the link, entered the access code, and stared at the words on the screen. Lily Morgan. Biological child of Jessica Morgan. Not a biological child of Michael Morgan. The room went silent. It was like my brain stopped processing sound. I read the line again. Michael wasn't Lily's father. I had no idea what that meant. I had never cheated. We had always been together. Unless this was something I had forgotten too, or unless Michael had done something much worse. I printed the results and placed them in my bag. I didn't say anything that night. I watched him tuck Lily into bed, like nothing was wrong, like we weren't living inside a lie. I listened to her say, "Good night, Daddy," and watched him smile. The next morning, I waited until he left for work, then called Dr. Whitaker. I told her everything, the test results, the baby my sister remembered, the flashes of memory I couldn't explain. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Jessica, I think it's time you asked for your hospital records. All of them, labor and delivery, too." "I didn't give birth," I said. She paused again. "Not according to your memory." That afternoon, I drove to the hospital with Emily. I requested my full file and waited in the records office for almost an hour. When they handed me the folder, I flipped through the pages quickly, scanning discharge dates, visit notes, surgical summaries. Then I found it. Delivery. Infant male. Born at 39 weeks. Healthy. Discharged into family custody. His name was listed as Benjamin Morgan. I stared at the line until the words blurred. I had a son, and he was gone. I sat in the parking lot of the hospital, holding the file in my lap. Emily sat beside me in silence. The name on the document felt like a punch to the chest. Benjamin Morgan, my son. Born 2 weeks before the accident. Healthy. Discharged into family custody. I had no memory of the birth, no memory of labor, no memory of holding him for the first time. Emily reached over and touched my arm. "We need to talk to Michael." I nodded, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. I needed to understand what I was walking into. I drove home in silence. my fingers trembling on the steering wheel, my mind racing through every strange moment of the last few weeks. Michael's calm explanations, his deflections, the tension that had been building since the moment I woke up in that hospital bed. When we got to the house, I asked Emily to stay with Lily while I waited for Michael to come home. I laid the hospital documents on the kitchen table. I sat at the end of the table and waited, heart pounding with each passing minute. At 6:14 p.m., the garage door opened. Michael walked in holding a grocery bag and a bottle of wine. He looked surprised to see me sitting there. "Hey," he said cautiously. "Everything okay?" I stood. "Sit down." He looked at me, then at the table. His eyes found the folder. His smile vanished. He didn't ask what it was. He didn't ask why I had it. He just sat down slowly, placed the bag on the floor, and folded his hands in front of him. "You lied to me," I said. My voice was calm, but my whole body was vibrating. "You told me there was no other baby. You told me Lily made it up. You said I was confused." Michael stared at the table. "Jessica." "I have hospital records," I said. "I gave birth to a son, Benjamin, 2 weeks before the accident." His shoulders dropped, and he let out a breath like a man surrendering. "I was trying to protect you," he said quietly. "From what?" I demanded. "You don't remember what happened after the delivery. You don't remember what you said, what you asked me to do. What did I ask you to do? You didn't want to keep him." My stomach turned. "That's not possible." "You were struggling," he said, still not looking at me. "After Benjamin was born, you couldn't sleep. You couldn't hold him. You said he didn't feel like yours. You had a panic attack in the hospital. They kept you for observation. You begged me to take him away." "I don't believe you," I said. "You're lying to cover up something worse." "I'm not," he said. "Jessica, you were terrified of him. You didn't even want to name him. You said you needed space, time to heal." I sat back, feeling the room spin. My own body felt foreign. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "You made me promise," he said. "You said if you forgot, it would be better, that we could go back to how it was. You didn't want to remember. I thought I was doing the right thing." "Where is he?" I asked, my voice cracking. Michael hesitated. "He's safe. He's with my sister. I've been sending her money. She's been taking care of him." I stood. "You hid my child from me. You weren't ready, Jess. I was trying to hold everything together. You were breaking apart, and I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to lose you." Tears ran down my face, but I didn't wipe them away. "You already lost me when you decided to take away my choice." Michael finally looked at me. His face was pale. "I thought I was doing what you wanted." "You don't get to decide that for me," I said. "Even if I said those things, even if I was scared, you should have told me the truth. You should have let me remember him." We sat there in silence for a long time. "I want him back," I said finally. "I want to see him." Michael nodded. "I'll call my sister." "No," I said. "I'll do it. I don't trust you anymore." That night, I packed a bag for Lily and drove her to Emily's. I didn't explain everything. I just told her we were going to see someone important very soon. When she asked, "Is it the baby?" I nodded. She smiled. "I knew you'd remember." I held her tight, trying to absorb her warmth, her truth. I had been lost inside my own life, my own body, my own mind, but not anymore. The next morning, I drove 2 hours across state lines to a small town where Michael's sister lived. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding in my chest. When she opened it, she looked surprised, then guilty. But behind her, I saw him, a baby boy with dark eyes and a soft tuft of hair. He looked up at me, and something inside me shifted. I didn't remember giving birth to him. I didn't remember his first cry, but I knew he was mine. And I knew I was never letting him go again. I stood in the doorway holding Benjamin for the first time, and my body knew him before my mind did. His weight in my arms felt right. The way he leaned his head against my shoulder, the small sigh he gave, the way his hand curled around my necklace, it broke something open in me that had been locked away. I didn't cry, I didn't panic, I just held him. Michael's sister Dana stood nearby looking unsure of what to say. She hadn't known I had forgotten. She told me Michael said I needed space, that I was working through postpartum trauma, that I had chosen to leave Benjamin with her until I recovered. I thanked her. Not because I forgave what had happened, but because she had cared for my son when I couldn't. She packed up his clothes, his bottles, the stuffed animal he liked to chew on, and handed everything to me without asking when I would bring him back. I drove home with Benjamin in the back seat. I kept glancing in the mirror, not to check traffic, but to look at him. He stared back at me with big, curious eyes. The car was quiet, but it wasn't empty. I kept one hand on the wheel and the other clenched tightly in my lap, trying to process what had happened, what I had lost, what I had found. When I walked into Emily's house that afternoon, Lily came running. Her eyes widened when she saw the baby. She didn't hesitate. She reached up and whispered, "Hi, Ben," like she already knew him. She touched his hand and grinned. I don't know how she remembered more than I did, but somehow she had held onto him in her heart. Children don't let go the way adults do. I stayed at Emily's that night. I told Michael not to come. He called twice, then stopped. I wasn't ready to hear his voice. The damage wasn't something a conversation could fix. In the days that followed, I started therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind where you say you're doing fine just to get cleared for discharge. I told the truth about my memory loss, about the gaps I still couldn't fill, about the fear that I might never be the kind of mother Benjamin deserved. My therapist told me healing didn't mean remembering everything. Sometimes it meant accepting what was real now and choosing what to do with it. I chose to fight for full custody. Michael didn't contest it. Whether it was guilt or resignation, I'll never know. He moved out. He visits Lily occasionally, but she doesn't ask for him much anymore. Not the way she used to. I think she feels the shift too. Benjamin is 8 months old now. He crawls faster than I can keep up with and likes to pull Lily's hair when she leans too close. She laughs and tells him he's annoying in the same way only a big sister can. Every night she kisses his forehead before bed and says, "I'm glad you came back." We moved to a smaller house on the edge of town, one with a fenced yard and a sunroom where I set up my art studio again. I've started drawing new stories, ones that are messier, harder, but more real, ones that come from places I used to avoid. Sometimes I include a mother with tired eyes and a little girl who keeps her grounded. Sometimes I draw a baby boy with a quiet smile and hands full of light. When people ask what happened, I tell them I was in a car accident and lost 3 days of my life. I tell them I came home and didn't know I had a son. I tell them I found out the truth in pieces, through receipts, questions, silence, and instinct. I tell them what it felt like to have your world rearranged without your consent, to be lied to by someone who claimed to love you, and to climb your way back to the truth one broken moment at a time. I also tell them the truth saved me, not all at once, not in a single dramatic moment, but in layers, in therapy sessions, in midnight feedings, in bedtime stories, in watching my children grow up in a home where they are not secrets, where they are safe. I used to think memory was everything, that if I couldn't remember something, I couldn't be trusted to feel it, but now I know better. I didn't remember Benjamin's birth, but I feel our bond every time he falls asleep on my chest. I feel it when he laughs at Lily's knock-knock jokes. I feel it when I hold his hand and it fits perfectly into mine. The past may be fragmented, but the future is mine to shape. And I'll shape it with honesty, love, and the quiet strength that comes from surviving something that tried to break me. I don't need Michael. I don't need the version of our life he tried to preserve with lies. I have Lily. I have Benjamin. I have myself, finally whole. And now I have the truth. That's enough. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, if it made you think about trust, motherhood, or the importance of truth, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experience in the comments. I read every single one. Please give this video a like if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And if you want more real stories, raw, honest, and unfiltered, subscribe to the channel. There's more to come, and I'd be honored to have you here. Take care of yourself, and remember, no matter how lost you feel, the truth has a way of finding you.